Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, sometimes I do videos and I know they're not going to be popular. I know people are going to disagree. The majority of people will disagree with what I say. But I have to be honest. I have to speak from my heart. If I feel strongly about something, I'm not going to change my opinion just because it's not in the majority. So, that brings me to today's video. Let me say this first, man. I am a total animal lover. I love animals. I grew up out in the woods. My father was the park ranger at a local state park, and that's going to tie into this video because I actually had an incident with a squirrel, and I got bit by that squirrel, and something happened to that squirrel after it bit me. And I'm going to tell you guys that in a second. But I'm an animal lover. I've had animals my whole life. My sister actually works for shelters, taking care of animals. My whole family loves animals. I actually did videos. There's going to be links down below. This place that I live in right now, about 2 years ago, I would go out in the parking lot, and there's always a bunch of squirrels out there. And I did a bunch of videos, and the links will be down below. There was this one squirrel, when I went on the parking lot, it would recognize me, and it would run over to me, and it would actually climb up my leg. It climbed all over my mountain bike. I had my mountain bike out in the parking lot, and I was working on it, and it climbed up onto my back tire, and it would beg for food. It would climb right up my leg. I have videos right down below where, if you watch these videos and you listen to my voice, I'm almost embarrassed at what I sound like, because I'm like, oh, it's a squirrel. I don't have any food for you. And I love the squirrel. I love it. I love animals. I love squirrels. But I got to say this. I am so sick and freaking tired of Peanut the squirrel and the whole argument over this, and the right trying to pick up this fight for Peanut the squirrel. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, everybody on the right is talking. Elon Musk was talking about how the government should just leave people and their pets alone. Let me say this first and foremost. A squirrel is a wild animal. A wild animal is always going to be wild. It's never going to be tame. It's never good for a pet. It is born wild. It is unpredictable. It's born in the wild. It should stay in the wild. A squirrel is a wild animal, and it's also a rodent. They are, no matter how much you think they're your beloved pet, they are wild animals. So, and there's billions of squirrels, just around this building. And I'm so sick and tired of people crying about Peanut the freaking squirrel. I think squirrels have a relatively short life anyway. I thought they just lived for a couple of years. When I was feeding this squirrel out in the parking lot, I looked it up, and I could swear that they said squirrels have a life of about 3 years. And now I'm seeing this thing about Peanut the squirrel living for 7 years. I'm not even sure about that. But I'm just so sick and tired of this. It's a wild animal. He really shouldn't have had it as a pet in the first place. And secondly, I could understand why the health department of New York took the squirrel. They were afraid of a rabies outbreak. It's a wild animal, and if it does have rabies and it bites, we could have an outbreak of rabies. It's for public health. I could understand that. But even more, this whole nonstop thing for the last couple of weeks about Peanut the squirrel, I'm just so sick of it. It was a freaking rodent. It was like a rat. And now everybody across the country, especially on the right, are picking up arms and crying about Peanut the squirrel. It was a freaking rodent. Look at all the people across this country that are homeless, that are hungry, that are suffering from addiction, like I was 18 years ago. And you don't hear a peep about that. But they're talking about a freaking rodent. One rodent being euthanized for public safety, and the whole freaking country is in uproar about it. It's freaking ridiculous. I am sick of Peanut the squirrel. Let him rest in peace. You're born, you die. It was Peanut's time. I don't freaking care. So long with Peanut. Screw Peanut. All right. Okay, back when I was 10 years old. No, actually, I was 8 years old. It was right a year before my father died. Like I said, he was the park ranger at the state park here in Connecticut, Black Rock State Park. And we lived in the log cabin inside the park. And my father ran the entire park, ran the whole all the employees and all that. And the park was my yard, really. The whole campground, the beach, the hiking, the whole acres and acres was where I lived and played. And I was in this baseball field one day in the park, and I was walking near a river, and I saw a squirrel laying on the ground. It was right near the base of a tree, and I went over to it, and it looked kind of sluggish. So I picked it up. It was a little baby squirrel. And I'm like, oh, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? And it bit me, right? I was only 8 or 9 years old. And I dropped it on the ground. I ran home, told my parents. Okay, this is what happened. They were so concerned that the squirrel, this is a totally, swear in the Bible, 100% true story. The squirrel was still right there in the area. It turns out, well, this is what happened. They went and got the squirrel. They took the squirrel from the town I was living in about an hour to Hartford to have it tested for rabies. They killed it to make sure it didn't have rabies. So me and my parents were waiting on pins and needles for a couple hours to make sure this, because it died after they went back and found it. Yeah, that's it. I don't know if it died. I don't remember if it died or if it was just kind of sluggish, but they were afraid that it had rabies. So it ended up dead one way or the other. And it didn't end up having rabies. But squirrels, I love animals. I love all animals. But all things live and they die. When it's your time, it's your time. And this was just a freaking rodent, and I could understand why they did away with it. All right, so let the negative comments start rolling in. The videos for my squirrel videos will be right down below, just to see. I love animals. I love squirrels, but enough with Peanut the squirrel. I've had enough of it. There's enough going on in this country, in this world, that we don't need to cry over one freaking rodent. All right, check out the videos down below. Have a good Monday.